All right, welcome everybody back to another crowdfunding comics podcast. I am Ronco Pop, and today I got joining me Keith Gleason. He is the creator of the Mighty Mascots comic books. He's for both of his crowdfunding campaigns. For those, he's raised over $27,000, and he also is the I guess founder and organizer of Plastic City Comic Con, which goes back to 2016, right?
Yes, yeah, that was the first year.
All right, awesome, perfect. So cool. Thanks for joining me. And I guess just start off, I like to get into everyone's origin story. So, kind of, how did you get into comics and start crowdfunding? I guess.
So comics, I've always, even at a young age, as far back as I remember, like I can remember being back in like second grade that I could, I could draw a little bit, and I thought at that time I wanted to be a cartoonist, like
Okay.
Garfield, and
Yeah.
I used to draw Garfield and Snoopy like crazy, and um, I found comics probably in junior high. Like I started reading comics. I didn't really find them when I was younger, and they were all around, but I was still just into the comic strips, as a
Okay.
kid. And then as I found comics, I think the first one I read was like a Moon Knight issue, and then like a Spider-Man one, and I was like hooked after that. And I was gonna say, as far as like, and then I kind of shifted, and I wanted to be, do comics instead. And my art style was, I could draw cartoony things like, like little animal creatures and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But as I got older, I found that I couldn't draw like good superheroes. Like
Okay.
I had a trouble with the perspective. I had trouble with like the anatomy and things like
Sure.
that. So I kind of uh, moved more into a writing role,
Okay.
and so I started creating the stories and doing lettering and things like that. And then I found crowdfund. I've done, there's the two on Indiegogo, but I've done like two on Kickstarter as well.
Oh, okay.
One going as far back as like when Kickstarter first started. I think it was like, God, maybe 2011. I want to
Oh,
say.
wow.
I'm
Okay.
kind of fuzzy about the years, but it was Kickstarter at the time was very new, and I remember doing one and asking people to support it. And I remember people going, "What's that?" Like they didn't
Yeah.
know what
Right.
crowdfunding was. So it took me a little while, and that was for my first graphic novel, which was called Hero Envy.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going back because I think I started professionally making comics probably around 2008, I
Okay.
think. So I've been at it for a while,
For sure.
and I've had a few different series. My first one was Hero Envy, and that's the one I was trying to crowdfund as a graphic novel. And yeah, and then I've done a few others since then. And I actually crowdfunding is great, but it's such a it's very, it's not easy to do, like,
Right. Yeah.
so if sometimes I'll try to fund a comic on my own before I even go to the crowdfunding route. um but yeah, I don't know, crowdfunding has changed a lot too since 2011.
Yeah.
Very
Definitely.
different, like, yeah, where's my thoughts going with this? I think like the one great thing about having a modern day crowdfunding is especially with Indiegogo more than Kickstarter, is that it almost function as an online store for you.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I
I can
mean?
see
Like
that.
rather than, it makes easier for, because I sell a lot online, but it's usually through the Indiegogos and less on my website. Like on
Okay.
my website, I get, an order here and there. Like, I'd say maybe if I'm lucky, one order a month, or order a month or every other month.
Okay.
Whereas Indiegogo, it's like, you get orders in all the time, which is nice.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. It's
Uh,
it's very different than when I first started with Kickstarter, years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure. And yeah, definitely. I think it kind of really took an uptick when the whole pandemic thing, everything shut down and like people were staying home, buying things
Yeah.
online. I think no matter what crowdfunding platform, they're like people were like looking to new stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that first Mighty Mascots one I did on on Indiegogo, the one that was like hugely successful. That
Mhm.
one was basically about a month into the pandemic. And I remember launching thinking, because remember that like those first couple of months of the pandemic when
Yeah.
everyone was like, is this cool to do? Like you felt
Right.
like you were doing something wrong because you were like asking for money for like this, like thing
Yeah.
that wasn't like, it was like entertainment and not
Yeah,
something
definitely.
like food or like medicine, or something. So you felt bad about doing it, but it actually ended up being the best time to do a crowdfunder because um at the time there was not a lot of people putting crowdfunders out there. So like I
Sure.
I benefited from it hugely, I think, and at the time I was still with Alterna, so that kind of helped too, really
Right.
fire things up. And so yeah, no, it's just one of those things I just really yeah, I've gravitated towards it as part of my strategy going forward, I guess.
Right, no problem. Well, let's jump into that first campaign there then. Um, so I guess because I didn't realize you had did a few on or a couple on Kickstarter. So jumping from Kickstarter to Indiegogo, did you bring anything? Did you already have an idea of like what you wanted to try to do as you posted this first campaign for Mighty Mascots?
Well, so the reason so I wanted to try Indiegogo because it seemed to be like at the time like people were doing really well on there,
Sure.
and that's sort of why I jumped ship. With Kickstarter, I like Kickstarter, and both platforms have their advantages and disadvantages.
Hmm.
I think the decision for me to move to Indiegogo was based on that Kickstarter seemed to have a lot of people doing comics on there.
Hmm.
And I felt if I launched on there, I was going to get lost in the shuffle,
Okay.
So I was like, let me try Indiegogo because there definitely wasn't as many creators doing comics on Indiegogo that there were on Kickstarter.
Hmm.
And the thing I found doing that first one on Indiegogo, the stuff that I liked about Indiegogo outweighed the stuff I liked about Kickstarter. And I think the huge one for me, there's a couple actually. The two big decisions I think that I like better than Indigo or better than Kickstarter is I like the in demand option
Hmm.
because if you hit that campaign goal, you get to keep your campaign open and continue to take in money.
Sure.
Like on that first one, the one you're looking at right now, like I
Hmm.
mean, it looks like I made at least anywhere from 5 to 7,000 from the in demand versus when the campaign ended.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like you ended at 14, a little over 14, and after when in demand, you still went up to 19. So
Yeah, so I
yeah.
made like about 5,000 after, and I think that's if you did that on Kickstarter, that's a lot of money leaving
Sure.
on the table. And the other thing I really like about Indiegogo better than Kickstarter is the fact that when someone backs you, they end up having to buy it right then and there.
Okay.
Because what ends up happening on Kickstarter is because people don't have to pay for it until the campaign's over,
Hmm.
and you end up losing some sales at the end because like you know they go to charge that credit card and either they don't have the funds or it's a bad
Right.
card or whatever, and then you end up losing that money. So the two campaigns I did with Kickstarter, I did lose some money at the end, like
Okay.
nothing crazy, but like enough to be like you know, it's like anywhere from $40 to $70 on both campaigns, but
Sure.
which isn't a lot when you look at it, but
Yeah, but that's a
that's
few
like
backers that you
yeah,
had, and then now you don't.
yeah, exactly. Like, and it's like it feels like you don't have that happening as much on Indiegogo. People could
Yeah.
still get a refund, like that's not a problem. It's just um, it kind of I like that you have to do it right then and there.
Sure. I
And
do
now,
like that, that
Mhm.
I'm not opposed to Kickstarter because the things I've backed on Kickstarter. One really annoying thing I don't like about the Kickstarter on some, and I guess this kind of really is the person who's running it. I don't like how they charge shipping separately sometimes, and I understand it makes it easier for them, but it's like you charged me once and now you got to charge me again. Come on.
Yeah, that's a little annoying.
Yeah.
And I feel like Kickstarter, um, the one advantage they have is that they do make it easier um, for the backer
Hmm.
versus the crowdfunding manager, I guess, or whoever's running the campaign. It's real easy for the backers to back something, and it's like also got more of a brand recognition than I
Yeah.
think Indiegogo does. Like, um, it's almost like Coke versus Pepsi or something like
Right.
that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And and so I think that's where the advantage of Kickstarter is.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
if you get like one of those projects we love, and then you kind of shoot right up in their algorithm, all that stuff helps.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. The
but yeah,
brand.
I'm with you. I back on both platforms quite a bit.
Mhm.
And depending on who the person is, sometimes because we do it, me and my buddy do a show on YouTube as well,
Sure.
and we meet a lot of creators, and we're like, once you get to know him, you're like, oh, I gotta back this guy, just help
Right.
him out,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So you end up backing a lot of people. Um, but it was gonna say I've never tried any of the other ones like Crowdfunder or
Right.
I don't know. There's a handful of them now.
Yeah, there's a couple of new ones coming out. That the brand recognition does help though. I think who was it? I think it was Patrick Thomas Parnell. When he was doing his transform his own robot toy.
Yep.
Um he launched on Kickstarter and on Indiegogo. I think he did an Indiegogo first, and I just remember him in his some of his videos. He was talking about telling people about it. Oh, this is the new one. It's on Indiegogo, and
Yeah.
people were like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's like Kickstarter." Oh, okay. So that the brand recognition does help at times.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a lot of work to do both platforms like that. Like
Sure.
I don't know if I would ever do that. It depends. I always say never, but um to do a whole campaign is a lot of work, and I can't imagine doing two of them. But for
Right.
some people it works. Like even like was it Billy Tucci does that
Hmm.
too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
And that
does.
ends up having like a ton. He gets a ton of backers from both.
Yeah,
So it makes sense.
definitely. Yeah.
But also those guys probably don't have a day job either.
Right. Yeah.
So
They're able to work on it pretty much full time. So
exactly, like
that
they could
always
probably
helps.
bang out a campaign in a couple days, building all the graphics and
Sure.
everything. So, but yeah, no, it's I think essential for creators now to be part of crowdfunding.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I've
I
always
think
been a proponent of both. Like I love to have a good online presence, but I
mhm.
also love the personal, like in person kind of stuff. Like I go to a lot of, depending on the year. Some like this year, I'm taking a little bit of, I'm pulling back a bunch, but I used to go to a lot of conventions up here in the
Oh, okay.
Northeast, throughout the year.
Sure.
Usually anywhere from April to like November. There's a lot of shows.
Mhm.
But I've been pulling back to just maybe 1 day shows and the occasional 2 day right now. So I'm
Okay.
probably doing about one or two a month, whereas before I was doing 2 to 3 a month.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
yeah. So I do a lot of both. Like, so I have a lot of in-person customers and I have a lot of online stuff. And I think
Okay.
that's how, if to be successful, I think you got to do a lot of both.
Sure. I think that definitely helps because, I mean, some people just aren't online or they get online to check their email and that's it. But when you meet people out in the world, they're like, "Oh, there are a lot of comic book fans out there who, like I said, just don't get online to check Twitter or Facebook
Yeah,
or
yeah,
anything." So,
exactly. And you meet a lot of the con goers that,
mhm,
like that they'll come to me every time I'm out to see if I have a new issue or you know what I mean? So
for
you
sure.
do have like those repeat customers. But I like the online thing too because I meet people in all over the world, that are into the book and that so it's I don't know. I think it's critical for both or crucial for both.
Sure. All right. Well, jumping into the next one. So there's the first one there with first that was what was that 4, 5, and 6, right?
4,
For
5, and 6.
yeah.
Yep.
So the next one was the one you have in demand right now for
Yeah.
issues 7, 8, and 9.
Yep.
Um, And this launched, to see, early last year or late last year. It looks like it launched around September, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Alrighty.
And yeah, I'm almost done all 3 issues. So I put a, I think a July uh due date for all the issues.
Hmm.
And so far we're on course. It just depends how long the printing will take. I
Okay.
think I'll be done lettering all the issues probably either by the end of this month or early next month, and then I just gotta proof everything and do tweaks and stuff like that. But I should be able to get the files out to a printer by June, and have them by July and start fulfilling, which was the
Okay.
plan. So, yeah, so if I'm late at all, it's probably not gonna be that much, but I'm hoping not. I have all the
Sure.
perks ready to go. So the only thing hanging around now is just the comics, once those are
Okay.
done. And I'm
Awesome.
like trying to debate whether I should go because like the early issues 1 through 6 were printed with Alterna on
Hmm.
newsprint. So I'm like now these new ones now because I left Alterna, I'm like
Hmm.
trying to decide if I should do 3 more newsprint to keep it uniform like the other ones, or if I should
Okay.
do premium paper. I don't know. Do you have a thought on that? Like
Um,
out of the
you know what?
blue?
I kind of I don't mind newsprint, but some of the issues that I've gotten that were on newsprint, even newer ones, it feels like the colors get muddied out a little
They
bit.
do get a little
Yeah,
muddied out.
so
Yeah.
I kind of prefer, like, even if it's not really high grade or the 90 pound, even if it's just a lower stock paper, like a
Where it
cleaner
holds
paper
the
like that.
colors better and you don't get the
Yeah.
smudging, right?
Yeah, so I kinda prefer those a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking about also as a possibility to possibly do a little bit of both.
Mhm.
Like, if I do future campaigns, like I could be like, here's the newsprint ones that are a little cheaper, but if you want more high quality,
Sure.
here's ones printing on a better paper. So I was thinking about something like that. Could
Okay.
be something
That
to
could
do
work.
down the road.
That's almost well, he does more Clint Stoker does his, campaigns, and he doesn't publishes them in one volume, but it kinda works the same like he had when he had the alternate issues coming out, he had those ones, and he said, "Well, if you want a one volume, you can get this one." It's kind of like not a special edition, but,
Yeah, yeah, almost like 3 issues in 1 volume
Yeah.
kinda thing. Yeah, definitely. And I was playing around with that too, although I'm thinking I'd rather do like a now that I have 9 issues, if I do 1 more, I could do like a 10-issue omnibus or something like
Oh,
that. Or,
nice.
something like that, or maybe do it after I have 12 issues, do the
Sure.
next 3 and then do that maybe. I don't know, we'll see,
Yeah.
you know? So
So
I got time to think about it.
yeah. So, one question I did have about these, and I'm not sure if the first six were, because I know with Alterna they didn't like putting they broke away kind of putting things together as graphic novels. But
Yeah, yep.
was that ever did that thought ever cross your mind as far as like putting these together, doing 7, 8, and 9, and then doing a volume 3 or something like that?
Oh, to do it like his graphic novels,
Yeah.
like Clint does?
Yeah.
Um, it did, it's kinda tough because it does have the history of being single issues
Sure.
without the graphic novels? I mean, now I guess it's wide open, I could do whatever I want, but, um, I did think about it, but I think, um, probably what I'd probably do now is put the 3 issues out singly and then maybe go back and do a trade for the first 3, a
Yeah.
trade for 4, 5, and 6, and then like a trade for 7, 8, and 9, so maybe people would like it that way.
Okay.
you know I it's wide open now, so I
Sure.
could probably I have time to think about it. I can actually ask people at shows too what they think and
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
pull everybody's ideas and go from there. But I do think like the files I've gotten from the artists and stuff, it's very colorful. Like all the artwork is very colorful
Sure.
that I think it would look good on a nice glossy paper,
Yeah,
without the muddiness that you're talking about.
for sure.
And I think it would like stand out. It would almost look like, how when you see some of there's certain issues like IDW puts out when it's like, off of a cartoon property, but they color it in that like cartoon kind of way
Oh, yeah,
where it looks
kinda
like
like cell
shell
shading.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly like that. Like some of the artwork Anton and Ian do kind of looks a little bit like that cell shaded, and it would look really nice on like a glossy paper. So yeah,
sure.
it's on my mind definitely, but I haven't decided either way yet, you know.
Okay. So as far as these campaigns too, I also was curious, because it does look like you offer a lot of, perks, like stretch goals and whatnot. Is that something you carried over from like Kickstarter, or because I know some people will do, a bookmark or a sticker, but you have some really good ones actually,
Oh,
and so
thanks.
I'm really impressed. And so I'm just wondering, uh, how does that affect your like your campaign goal when you set it up at the as the amount you want to raise for it?
Gotcha. Uh, well, when I do the perks, like yeah, because like you said, everybody offers like stickers,
Sure.
bookmarks, things like that, and I always feel like I want to do something a little different than those because like like you're like me where you back a lot of campaigns, and I have, I mean, maybe a stack this high of all bookmarks I've gotten from
Oh, okay.
campaigns and stickers and stuff. I'm almost at the point too where I prefer from campaigns, I'd rather have more comic. Like if they're I'd rather them make the stretch goal to be more story, or a
Hmm.
back story or something like that. But with that being said, yeah, definitely I try to do different things because I'd love to, and with the characters being serial mascots, I feel like that opens up a whole world of
Oh
like
yeah.
things you can do,
Hmm.
especially on this campaign, the first one, that I did for 4, 5, and 6. It's there was a ton of stuff we unlocked,
Yeah.
and then the stuff I didn't unlock, I put in the next campaign, like that eye patch is in the 7, 8, and 9 one. And
This was a cool idea, the,
oh,
doing the
thanks,
Mighty
yeah.
Mascot cereal box, that was a good idea.
Oh man, I have that at conventions a lot, and I get the same question every time someone sees it. They're like, "Oh, is there cereal in there?" And I
Yep.
gotta explain to them that I can't, with expiration dates,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
for sure.
impossible to have stuff like that. But yeah, no, I try to do some fun stuff. Like I feel like the book is fun, so I want like fun perks.
Yeah.
So I try to think of stuff that I'd wanna see, I guess, when
Mhm.
I buy, from other campaigns, so
For sure.
and the other thing that, this and anyone watching that's planning on doing crowdfunders, the tough part is you wanna try to find stuff that's kinda flat, so it's
Right,
easier to
yeah.
ship, especially with shipping prices with how crazy they are,
Mhm.
So that's one thing, it's like trying to find items that are flat, but also kinda fun,
Right, yeah,
so,
definitely.
and I get a lot of ideas from other people's campaigns too. Like I'll see something on somebody's campaign and like, oh, that'd be awesome to do.
Mhm.
Like the lunchbox was one of those. I saw that on someone else's campaign. And I'm like, oh man, that would be great to have. So
Sure.
stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So I know, like, at the time when you launched, Mighty Mascot 7, 8, and 9, and then the first one, you were with Alterna, but aside from, going on that platform. I know you run your own YouTube channel, and
Yep.
you have your Indie Comics Relay. So I guess when you were doing these campaigns, did you like gear up and like try to add more videos to your schedule, or how were you trying to drum up more interest for this following campaign?
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, with the indie comics relay, I've kind of gotten to the point where I try to do I try to upload 3 times a week,
Okay.
and sometime like so me and my buddy get together to do the live streams bi-weekly. So if I have a live stream one week, I'll only do 2 videos for the rest of the week.
Hmm.
And then the weeks that we're off, I'll just do 3 videos. I try to upload 3 times a week, same day, same time. That way the algorithm picks it up a little better, things like that. I try to do all the what is it, the YouTube best practices thing, where you put a thumbnail in, all that stuff. You
Yeah.
tag it, all that
Sure.
fun stuff. And then one of the videos I upload a week is usually I'll take some of our live streams where we got into some really good topics, and I'll cut those up and release them as smaller videos.
Hmm.
If we're like the one I just released yesterday was we started getting into the whole like like the pluses and minuses of using public domain characters.
Yeah,
And
I've
I thought
seen
that
those.
would be interesting.
I haven't watched them yet, but I want to definitely check those out because that's a big topic right now, especially with what was it, Winnie the Pooh, and now
Yeah.
Steamboat Willie's coming up. So
Yeah, I think that one Steamboat Willie definitely came up when we talked
okay,
about it. And then we also talked about yeah, like the one of the guys I had on the episode that night does a public domain character. That's why I brought it up. And we
sure,
got into this whole discussion about it. It's gonna be a 3-part, like part two's coming out next Friday, and then the third part will be the Friday after that.
okay,
And it's just yeah, just getting into it on which public domain characters are kind of good to use, which ones aren't, things like
interesting.
that. So it was a good series, but like I think that's part of like if you have an exciting guest on and you get into a nice area of
Hmm.
discussion, perfect for like smaller videos, to try to get like I guess double the uh I don't know, double the pleasure from or double the views or maybe,
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. Break it
Yeah.
down into little chunks and
Yeah,
whatnot.
get
So
that
like,
little
yeah, for
blood
sure,
from the stone left.
for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's go to talk about Plastic City Comic Con for a minute here. Pull this one up here.
Now you said you help out with a convention too?
No,
Oh,
no.
maybe it was someone else. I've been doing so many shows lately.
Oh,
There's
have you? Oh,
someone I've
okay.
been talking to that does or helps out a convention or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, no, no, I haven't. But yeah, I definitely like comic conventions. I wanted to talk about this because I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I mean, just on the surface level, people might not see a connection, but I think there is when you're talking about trying to drum up interest for your comics, crowdfunding campaigns, trying to get those readers there. Kind of the same thing when you're trying to put on a convention. You're not only trying to find guests who could uh, be appear, would be like your writers, artists, all that stuff, but then the readers are the fans who come and visit. So I guess maybe start in the beginning. How come you decided to start one up?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure. So I've been doing conventions since about oh god, about as long as I've been making comics, like 2008. And the one thing I noticed about 2012, 2013,
Mhm.
comics or conventions started getting really popular, and you can kind of chart it from like the first Avengers movie.
Oh, okay.
You saw this influx of fans because that movie was huge at the
Yeah.
time. I mean, it's been beaten a million times since, but
Right.
like but at the time that was huge, and we were getting a ton of people coming to comic cons. But what was happening was, and you've probably seen this in cons near you and stuff, is that the conventions were focusing a lot more on celebrities, a lot more on
Yeah.
cosplay, and comics were kind of pushed to the back. They're almost like the redheaded stepchild of the
Yeah.
convention scene.
Yeah.
And so around 2016, I remember doing a show in our Nick. I'm up here in the East Coast, like Northeast, and we were doing a show in Boston, which historically the Boston show was amazing for all the creators. Like everyone
Oh,
does well at this show. And this particular year, everyone was like bummed out because like the people weren't there for comics. People were there for everything but comics.
mhm.
Or you'd get this situation where um, you know, people would come to the show. They'd spend like something ridiculous, like $50 to get in,
Oh, wow.
and then they would go get like William Shatner's autograph for $100, and then they'd eat some food, and they're already out $200 by the time they get to your table.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
nothing left. So we were seeing that a lot, and I was just like, I felt frustrated too because we were losing money, and then also all my friends were sad and everything. So I was like, you know what? Like, I wonder what it would take to start a convention on my own. And the first year we did it, we did a small like VFW hall
Okay.
and we rented it out, and we got it pretty cheap. So I was just like, you know what? I'll just take vendor fees, table fees, and then like let's just charge free admission.
Okay.
And then me and my wife, we went out and we just promoted the crap out of this thing. We put yard signs everywhere.
Oh,
We
wow.
dropped postcards in every comic store, anything geek related. We put a postcard in, and we had a huge turnout of people, especially with the free admission.
Yeah,
And
I bet.
we probably had about 45 tables because it was 2 floors and we fit about 20 in each floor.
Okay.
It was packed all day. I couldn't believe it. People were like, and we set up there as well, and we didn't charge admission, but we made money at our table, and it was like,
Sure.
we did really well that day. And I was like, wow, like it, my whole thing was like, let's be a comic focused show,
Right.
because if you want anything else, celebrities, cosplay, you can go to every other show in this area, but we'll be something different. We'll be like those 90s conventions, that we
Okay.
used to have. So that was my idea. And then it's just gotten bigger and bigger every year. Like we moved after the first year, we moved to a hockey rink that was close by. We rented out that whole thing. And, we probably fit about 130 tables there.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we got bigger. So the problem, we had multiple um, problems with that facility though. So finally, this last year was the last straw with just the problem. So we found this new place which is 10 minutes away, and it's a big giant sports complex, and it's
Okay.
basically brand new. And we're paying a lot more for it, but we're getting a lot bigger space. So we're going from like 130 tables up to like 250,
Oh,
which is
wow.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still like able to keep the admission low. That was the other thing I wanted to do. Like two things I wanted to do is make a comic book convention about comic books again, but
Mhm.
also I wanted to make it affordable for not only the people coming to the convention, but the artists and vendors paying a smaller fee than they're used to,
Okay.
so I was trying to make it, and we got a great reputation because of that. Like people that come to my show usually make money unless they have a product that absolutely no one wants, which
Sure.
happens,
Yeah.
some people don't do well, and
Yeah.
but if you have something that's worthwhile, you're gonna make money at the show,
Okay.
it's just one of
Nice.
those kind of shows. And yeah, we do the kids 12 and under free. We do free parking. I mean, you can't really beat the
No.
prices, And
Yeah,
I could
definitely not.
definitely charge more, which, people are always saying to me. And I was like, no, it's not what this show is about. But
Sure.
the one thing I run into, because we're only one day, it's harder to get guests
Okay.
because a lot of, if say you want somebody that lives in California to come to your show,
Yeah.
a lot of the times they don't want to fly in for one day. They want to fly in for a whole weekend, So I
Sure.
run into issues with that. But we still managed to find some decent guests in this area. So,
Yeah,
we
I
had
saw,
Gary Ordway at our show a few years ago, and
and Larry
we
Hama, right?
yeah,
I
we had
think I
Larry
saw a picture.
Hama. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So, yeah, so we've had decent people. We got Ron Rudat coming this year, who's designed all the GI Joe figures
Oh,
for
okay.
Hasbro, which is kind of a cool guest.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, we got Larry Stroman and a few others that are coming that are local, so it's gonna be good. So
Awesome.
and
Yeah,
we have fun doing it. So
sure. Yeah, that I'm in Northern California right now, but I used to live in Southern California. And
okay,
there's a group down there that was for a few years, trying to put on a Comic Con. And they were local, and they were trying to, get all the artists and some local businesses to participate. And it's taken them a while. And then, like you said, the kind of the boom happened,
yeah,
and these two other companies came in, and it really kind of just blew up the whole thing. One company came in, it was called Palm Springs Comic Con, because I was in the Palm Springs, Coachella Valley area is where I lived.
okay,
Uh, uh, and the other company came in, and they called theirs Comic Con Palm Springs. So then there was mix up, and they were bringing in all the celebrity guests.
Oh
And
God.
then a few months later, in the same area, they put on a show, and it was much more low key, but they were charging like $40 to get in, and it was very small. As a 1 day show. It's just like wow. So, and then that kind of
That's
all of yeah, that all of that put on it kind of made the one group that was trying to do it organically and everything. They it seemed from the outside looking in that they were trying to rush it to put together because they didn't want to get left behind. And then the following year, nobody put on a show. So,
gotcha. Yeah, that's I was gonna say that is like an kind of like a first year mistake. We see that a lot up here too, because
okay.
for some reason the New England area up here, if you threw a rock, you could find a show literally
Hmm.
every weekend around here. And we've seen a lot of shows where they're 1 day and they come out of the gate with that like $40 admission and 20, maybe it's 25 or something,
Sure.
which is still kind of obnoxious for a first year show.
Yeah.
And then they do zero promoting and no one shows up, and then they're like scratching their heads like, why didn't anyone come?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I do a series of videos on my channel too, just talking about throwing a convention, and definitely tell it, you got to do more than just a Facebook event,
Sure.
you got to get out there, it's a lot of work,
Yeah. Definitely.
and but it's also that kind of goes back to like crowdfunding and stuff too. It's almost the same thing. You got to raise awareness no matter what you do, whether you're on YouTube, you're on Twitter, whatever, you're just going to make people aware of
Right.
you know what I mean, that you're out there,
Yeah. Definitely. All
But as
right.
soon as you hit that fire though, like because we did such a great job that first year of our convention,
Mhm.
it set us up for future shows, because that the word of mouth from all the vendors that were at my first year show spread like wildfire, like
Oh,
because
nice.
everybody at the show did amazing.
Sure.
And like everyone wanted a year two immediately, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if you do a good job with it, the goodwill will just carry over
Yeah.
for you, you know what I mean? So anybody that's thinking about starting a con out there, you gotta put the work in, especially the first year, to
Yeah.
make it happen, so
Yeah, I guess that, and like you said, that kind of is like into your comic and crowdfunding, because if you do hit that initial launch, even if it's not massive, but you fulfill to your backers, you offer the product that they wanted, that word of mouth definitely does spread, and when you launch your second one, it helps with that.
yeah, definitely. I think with crowdfunding, the that's definitely the key is you gotta fulfill, and you gotta fulfill in a timely manner,
Mhm.
or you gotta, if you're gonna be late, you gotta really keep people up to date on what's going on,
Sure.
you gotta think of it as less of like, I'm making this comic, and more of like, you gotta put that customer service hat on,
Right.
if you ever
Yeah.
work for retail or something, and you gotta treat it kind of like that, where it's like, now you just gotta let people know what's going on,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, that's the key. A lot of this stuff is just that, just common sense and treating it like everybody's a customer kind of thing, so
Sure. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Keeping, like you said, keep in contact, even if it's just um, hey, made progress on the page today. I think
absolutely. Yep.
some campaign organizers, they don't take that account because they think, I don't know what I don't know what they think, but I know as a reader I appreciate that. Oh, hey, you remembered your backers, and you just, even if it's just, hey, shipping this out today, it's, I think, readers appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And with me, like I feel like a great responsibility towards the backers, because, like I feel if I'm gonna take someone's money, I feel like I owe them the product or
Sure.
explanations or updates, things like that. It's almost like very transactional, in my eyes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't really look at it that way, but they should.
They
You know what I
should.
mean?
Yeah. I think so. Awesome. Well, this is great. Thanks for joining us. Before we get out of here, I do like to try to end on, uh, I'm still working on what I'm calling it, but basically a top thing and a top negative thing.
Okay.
What's like as far as campaigns go. So for a top thing, what is something that you've done in the past that you thought worked really well, or something that you've seen other campaigns do that you thought really worked really well, and either have implemented it into your stuff or want to in the future?
I gotta think about that. So what did I think worked really well, and then what I implemented into it?
Yeah, or if you've done it yourself and you're like, oh, or something, maybe something you did on your first one that you did on the second one. Just off the top of my head, I know a lot of, well, this Indiegogo's been doing this for years, but Kickstarter just started doing it where you have the images now available for your tiers. You
Oh
can,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
So I know a lot of
Yeah,
people are on that.
I feel that's very valuable because
Hmm.
you're someone's gonna look at it and say, "Okay, this is what I'm getting," and
Sure.
you have the picture of the product there. Um, Geez, I don't know. Like, I think with me, yeah, like, okay, so I will say this, like, I think having some completed artwork
Hmm.
from your comic and finishing it up, like, to the point where it has lettering and everything is
Sure.
huge because it shows the backers that, this comic is happening, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, when you don't have, like, images at all, like, it's kinda like, is this comic coming out?
Yeah.
It's almost like when you buy an indie book and you buy the number 1 and then you're like, "Is this guy ever gonna make more?" You know
Yep.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it gives you that kinda, but if you have, I would say that was the best thing you could do on a campaign, is do everything. Make sure you have images, make sure
Sure.
you have finished artwork with lettering, make sure all your perks show what you're actually getting. Make sure you do a video, keep it under a minute, 30 seconds if you can.
Sure.
Um, all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
then
That idea.
have a forum, or have some kind of platform, either you're doing YouTube or Twitter to promote it, or
Yeah.
Facebook, something.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that first thing you said though about the art, because I've seen a lot of campaigns that they look really cool. Might have a regular image or on their front without a video, and it's like, oh, this looks really neat. And I scroll down and there's no other images, so I'm like, well, what is the book done? And even if they don't have the prepared artwork, you could at least. So I've noticed some of them
You can at
don't
least
even
put the
say,
black and whites or
yeah,
even the script. Show something. Show
some,
that something's in progress.
yeah,
And, that would
that
be
is
my thing, is, like, make sure your campaign looks as complete as possible,
sure,
because 'cause you're judged not just on the book and the content, but also how your whole thing looks, how
yeah.
your whole presentation is.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's a I think I mean, that's all you have to get judged on really in the beginning, because they don't have the book, so if your
yeah.
campaign looks pretty spot on, it's like it kind of does instill a little bit more confidence.
Definitely, and with indie comics too, like, even with your comic, you should have your comic the same way. It should have the as good as the artwork can be,
Yeah,
nice lettering, everything. Because, like, like, when you put out an indie comic, it's like the best thing you can do, because it's hard for us to compete against Marvel and DC,
sure.
so the best thing you can do is have the best comic you can make out there, so
Yeah,
it'll appeal to somebody. So all of that, it's the same philosophy, just over and over.
yeah.
So,
So,
and then good
on
customer service is a
oh,
huge
yeah,
thing, I think, for me. So
definitely. On the flip side of that, is there anything that you've seen other creators or that you've done yourself that you're like, this may not have been the best idea to do, so I'm not going to carry it over in the future, or I'm not going to do that later on, or
let me think.
I know one
uh
example I've used is I really appreciate the graphics that some people set up on their info page and everything, and some of them look really good. But every once in a while, you'll see somebody has something where they set up the graphics all set up, and they use a really fancy font to for their
it's hard to
information, and
read, right?
it's hard to read. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I'd say too, trying to find a balance to how long your page is.
sure,
Like, some people will share half the book on there, and it's like you're just scrolling, 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 scrolling,
yeah,
and it's almost like you kind of only want to share a few things and then kind of like have the explanation and then show the perks in a bigger capacity at the bottom and then kind of stop and finish and get out of there because people have like such low attention spans, you know?
Yeah.
And if you got to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then all of a sudden it's into the credits and it's,
Right.
showing a million things of the credits and,
Yeah.
it's almost too much. Like, you want to have just enough, not too little, but not too much. So it's a
Right.
hard balance to strike, but I
It's like
think
a
it's
a teaser trailer or something for a movie or something. Just
yeah,
give them enough to like whet their appetite, but and then like
exactly.
yeah,
But everything you show should be very complete and like in a
sure.
complete stage. If you have perks already, take a picture of it so people know you have the perk.
Right.
Things like that I think really help give people confidence that that you're going to fulfill the campaign. And that's the most important thing, is to make sure you fulfill or
Yeah.
keep in touch with people, because if you fail at that, people are not going to help you on the next one, you
Yeah,
know.
definitely.
So
For
it's
sure.
all solid advice.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. All right, awesome. Well, I guess that'll be the end of it. Before I let you go, anything else you want to share with anybody watching or listening?
um Let me see. You can find me on Twitter at
Sure.
Reckless Gleason is my handle, or just search for Mighty Mascots. I'm sure my name will come up right there. My YouTube channel is called Indie Comics Relay. It's me and my buddy Johnny C,
Okay.
who's a good friend of mine up here, and I met at a convention actually,
Oh,
and we
nice.
become good friends. And we interview people every other week, and I do videos on the channel constantly about, if you want to start a convention. I have a series of videos there. I have a series of videos of if you want to sell at conventions, like things you can do. Like I show you my table setup. I share some of my selling techniques
Okay.
and just things like that. Things you should have at your table at a convention, stuff like
Sure.
that. So if you're an indie creator, go to the channel. You'll find a lot of good stuff there, a lot of good info. So.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah,
And we
perfect. I
try to
will
be
keep
entertaining and informational, I guess, so.
Yeah. Those are the best two to be. So
Yes, exactly.
all right. So if you're watching this on YouTube, check for those links. I'll have them in the description down below. If you're listening on the podcast, all those links will be in the show notes on the website. And yeah, I guess that'll be it. I don't have a great outro for this show yet, so I'll end the broadcast right here.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah.